Hey guys, so welcome back. You might be able to tell that it's pretty early in the morning. Well, actually, I mean, it's not that early technically. I just woke up though. That's the reason my voice sounds so damn deep. Anyway, so the reason why I'm coming to you so you don't have to come to me. Disable that music. Anyway, is because I wanted to bring you back my Slifer Agents deck. So I tested it out before, remember, and I was able to successfully pull off Slifer. Well, I was only able to really do Slifer maybe like 1 out of 5 times. I was able to actually do the combo that you're supposed to do with this deck. And so I decided, because I looked at what my old deck was, I decided to change it up to see if I could make it any faster, any better. And I actually did. And it's actually quite amazing that this almost always now, probably more than 50% actually does what it's supposed to do, which is a lot better than 20%, right? I mean, if you can do the math, right? So anyway, that's the reason why I wanted to bring it back to you, because this this thing is just so freaking good. However, I was using Dev Pro originally to test it out, which was cool and everything, up until I realized that everyone on Dev Pro are a bunch of faggots because they keep quitting out. I'll start drawing a bunch of cards because of Tethius. They're like, oh my gosh, that must be broken. I'm quitting out. Because all of a sudden it says you win. And I'm like, what the fuck? Oh my gosh. Because in Dev Pro, when you win, you hear that little clapping sound. And it's like, woo, you won. And I'm like, I didn't win. He just ran like a little bitch. So I tried that about like 5 times dueling with this deck. Because every single time I was about to summon Slifer and they would quit out. So I was like, okay, no point in playing in Dev Pro. So I re-downloaded Dawn of a New Era, and so far I haven't had anyone quit out on me until after I summon Slifer and I'm about to go into attack mode. So that's a lot better. That's a step up from people just quitting out because I'm drawing a bunch of cards and they think that's broken. But anyway, so if you're wondering what the difference is, first of all, you do actually want to have an extra deck with this. Although Slifer is your main guy, he is your trump card. This guy's just so freaking cool. He really is. But you still want to have an extra deck just in case, because I actually have killed a guy. One of the duels out of like the 6 that I did yesterday that I didn't summon Slifer, I actually killed the guy because I had Digesto Phoenix, a Master Hyperion, and a Tethius on the field. So that's always a good thing to keep in mind, is that sometimes you do need to actually go into your ranks. And I do have some tuners, or I do have some synchros, because Earth is a tuner. It's really quite easy to go into a rank or a level 5, because Valhalla does allow you that free special summon. So then you can like normal summon Agent or Earth, get her effect. Because sometimes I'll like special summon Venus and then use her effect to special summon Shine Balls. Normal summon Earth, and then I could possibly go into an Android or a Catastor. Just depends. I could go into a level 6 as well. I don't know why I have Black Rose in here. Oh, yes I do. You can always take a Venus, an Earth, and a Shine Ball and make Black Rose if necessary, to just sort of like clear the field. But that's always as a last resort type of step. So what is different about this deck versus the last deck? The reason why this deck, I feel that this deck will be the best Slifer Agents build out there. Why? Because it is the most consistent, and you gotta remember, my mind thinks 3 steps ahead of a normal human's, which already thinks 3 steps ahead. So I think 6 steps ahead of where I actually need to be. So the thing about this deck is, first of all, Hecatrice, or however you pronounce this guy's name, he's not as important, so I took out one of him and something else, obviously, to put in 2 Marshmallows, because Marshmallow is an extremely good blocker, and essentially you're stalling until you can get out Tethius. Also, Marshmallow, you can always sack it to summon Tethius, because Marshmallow is very hard, but for the most part, he's not going anywhere, or it's not going anywhere. I think it's just a marshmallow of some sort, so it's genderless. Anyway, so also, the other thing is, there's the possibility that you might card destruct Slifer, so you always want to be able to Monster Reborn him. Or you might trade in one of your Hyperions, because you have to start kicking off Tethius' effect, so that way it can start activating. Well, then you can always Monster Reborn it later. Or, if that's not necessarily an option, Pot of Avarice is so good because, first of all, think about it. It only adds back monsters to your deck. So technically, you're diluting down the amount of spells that are in your deck, which means that you have an increased chance of drawing fairies versus spells. So if I had 20 fairies in my deck and 10 spells, I just added back 5. Well, instead of a ratio of 2 to 1 fairies to spells, now it's 2.5 to 1 fairies to spells. So it's very good. Also, it's a +1, so it keeps up your hand advantage. But I really like it because I mainly use it not just to recycle my fairies, but specifically my Hyperions and also Slifer. Let's say you haven't used your normal summon yet, and unfortunately you had a card destruct Slifer and Monster Reborn. Then you can put Slifer back and, of course, eventually draw it. Because the thing about this deck is you will eventually draw the card that you're looking for. Like, I kept using Tethius' effect, kept reloading, kept Magical Malading until I got the Heavy Storm that I wanted and cleared out my opponent's side of the field. It was extremely good. Also, I usually like to special summon Tethius with Valhalla Hall of the Fallen, but that's not always possible. Sometimes I do have to sack that Marshmallow to summon Tethius, right? So that means you wasted your normal summon. So, I actually came into a case where I had already used my card destruction. So, once I drew Slifer, the only way I was going to bring this baby out is if I had him in my hand, and I could Monster Reborn him from the grave. So, how do you do that? That's the reason why I have hand destruction. It's so freaking good, you just don't freaking know. You just send a couple fairies, that way you can start popping them for Hyperion, and then send Slifer and a fairy, and then Monster Reborn Slifer after you've cleared out all the back row and everything with Hyperion, and attack for game. Because you're still going to have like a shit ton of cards in your hand, regardless. Because you're going to probably have minimum 14 cards in your hand after everything's already said and done. One game I actually had 19 cards in my hand when I summoned Slifer, so it was amazing. Also, if you don't end up ever using Valhalla Hall of the Fallen and you end up keep drawing it over and over again, you eventually want to hand destruct the 2 Valhalla Hall of the Fallens. Because first of all, that would allow you to draw 2 more cards and possibly activate Tethius' effect if one of those 2 cards is a fairy. But also, that way you stop drawing Valhalla Hall of the Fallen with Magical Mallet or Reload or whatever you want to do. Usually with Magical Mallet, I only send back monsters to draw more. Because why send back spells? I'm not looking for spells. And a lot of times the spells are a Mallet or a Reload anyway, and I want to keep those. That way I know for sure that as soon as I draw the next bunch that I'll be able to activate another spell to keep adding to the effect. Also, I think I had like 2 trade-ins last time, maybe. You only want 1 trade-in because there's only 5 targets for trade-in. I don't really want to ditch Hyperion unless I have to, but now that I've got Pot of Avarice in there, it's actually not as big of a concern for me, I suppose. Also, I took out 2 Christias, and the reason why is I believe that you will agree with me when you hear what Christia's effect is, if you aren't familiar with it. So when she's sent from the field to the graveyard, like by any effect, or destroyed by battle, which has happened a lot, she goes to the top of your deck, no questions asked. She's like Horn of the Unicorn. You don't have a choice. She goes back to the top of your deck. I don't want that. That is a very annoying effect, and I realized that as soon as that happened. I'm like, no more, please. Also, you can't special summon. So your Hyperions are essentially useless. You can't special summon them. Christia, I don't even know why she fucking exists. She's not that good to me. So unless you've already got the advantage, then summoning her is not that big of a deal. So I took her out. Splendid Venus is perfect because if she's on the field, let's say you Valhalla Hall of the Fallen her, and then you sacked your Marshmallow to summon Tethius. Well, right now, what you're looking at, or in any order that you wanted, as long as Venus was on the field originally, then as soon as you start activating all your reloads, Magical Mallets, trade-ins, Pot of Avarice, hand destructions, notice her effect says the activation and effects of your spell and trap cards cannot be negated. Excuse me, that is pretty damn good. I like that a lot, in fact. So they can't Solemn Warning my Monster Reborn. Excuse me. They can't Dark Bribe any of my spells. She's actually kind of good to have on the field when you're pulling all this shit off. But, whatever. Also, she can give your fairies an advantage over, like, if they've got a Red Dragon Archfiend on their side of the field, or a Blackluster Soldier, because it loses 2,500 attack, and that's enough for Hyperion to get over it. So it's not bad. It's not bad at all. And then what was the other main concern that I wanted to talk about with this deck? I can't really think of it. So actually I'm just going to go ahead and jump right into the example duels that I have. But I honestly believe until I lose with this deck, this is the best Slifer Agents deck I've ever made. And it's the best Slifer Agents deck I've ever run. It is so easy on my second turn or third turn to start actually pulling off this combo. But Monster Reborn is a must because of Reborn in Slifer or sometimes in Hyperion, whatever. And Heavy Storm is a must just because sometimes you need Hyperion to clear front row and Heavy Storm to clear back row. So it's so important. It's so good. You're going to have so much fun with this deck, and it's so freaking cheap. I mean, you know, minus Slifer being a $40 card, but otherwise it's so freaking cheap. I mean, the extra deck isn't as necessary. If I were to run any extra deck whatsoever, run a Zenmain's Digesta Phoenix, one Gachi, and a Catastor, and a Black Rose. But beyond that, nothing else is really important because I've never even summoned anything. So anyway, let's go into the replays. How about that? So, wait. Oh, actually, no, that was the replay that I wanted. So this was the first one that I did, and both of these were on Dawn of a New Era, essentially. This was the first one that I did, and then this was the second one. So let's go ahead and start with the first one. So, the first thing is always evaluate your... Oh, that's not my hand. Okay, there you go. First thing is always evaluate your hand. Now, this is a kind of shitty hand, because I start off with Slifer, and not a Tethius. You would prefer to start off with a Tethius and a Valhalla the Fallen first turn. And a lot of times, it's actually best to go second with this deck, but you always want to go first in any duel. Just because you get to set up your side of the field first, and your opponent can't Solemn Warning or Dark Bribe anything, so that's always a good thing. But he gets to go first, and he was running Glad Beasts, or a combination of Glads and other Beast Warriors. Wait, yeah, okay, Tengu is Beast Warrior. Anyway, Tengu, man, that guy just really got really shitty when he went down to 2. Anyway, so yeah, and then he does that. You know, he gets his Gorilla because he's already got his Bear in his hand. So this is a really shitty hand, right? So I play Valhalla the Fallen, and then I Magical Mallet everything else. Because, might as well. Now, that's actually pretty good, because what happens now is I can special summon Tethius, which is perfect! And then Card Destruct to try to see if I can start pulling her effect off. So let's see what happens. Okay, so I do. Actually, I got really lucky that I drew a Marshmallow, because that's what's going to start the effect. And remember, how many spells did I freaking have? Hold on, let me go back and check again. Because it's very important that you have... Okay, so I've got 24 monsters versus 16 spells, obviously. So you always want to have more than 2-to-1 ratio of... or more of a 1-to-1 ratio than that. Then, you know, so obviously, like... You need to be able to keep a large count of fairies in your deck. Oh yeah, so I went ahead and did that. That might have been a little premature on my part to do that, but I knew I wasn't going to be able to summon Slifer this turn because there was nothing else to help, you know, keep on Tethius' effect. So I went ahead and did this. Added an agent. Now remember that adds an agent, you don't draw it, so you can't activate Tethius' effect. And I can't use his effect. Oh, I could, but I didn't want to banish the Hyperion. That would just be silly. But anyway, yeah, so he summons another one. So why did he summon it in defense mode? I don't know. Now he takes 2400 attack. Or, life point damage, I suppose. Anyway, so he goes ahead and plays 4 cards on the field. Because that guy ends up bringing out another. I hate how Gladbees just like tag out type of deal. It's really retarded looking when they can't do anything. Like, why? I don't know. Anyway, just watch what happens. So this obviously wasn't a first turn Slifer summon. But now that I've got reload, shit is about to happen, yo. Because the beauty of this deck is when you play your reloads or your magical mallets or your hand destructions or card destructions, you're in yourself filtering your deck because you're getting rid of spells. The spell goes to the grave. You're minusing 1 your hand, but Tethius is like plus 80 in your hand. So you don't have to worry about it. And that's very good that I drew a Magical Mallet. Obviously, this is back when I was still running Christia. So just take out 2 Christias and put... God, Christia is so ugly looking. Just take out 2 Christias and put in 2 Splendid Venuses, and you'll just be fine. So Magical Mallet, put back every monster. It's really good that I drew a Tethius. That way I can keep activating her effect. And notice, like, most of my hand was spells, which means that most of my deck has got to be fairies. And that's exactly what it is. So, oh, and this is also back... Remember that I used to run 2 Upstart Goblins. Actually, in this build, I was running 1 Upstart Goblin. But the reason why I took out Upstart Goblin is, first of all, it does exactly the opposite of what you want. It gives your opponent's life points. Although Slifer with a massive attack of 12,000 or more, it doesn't fucking matter. But the reason why, watch, I'll draw a card, like I just did, Christia, but I didn't get Tethius' effect. And that's because you draw a card, then your opponent's life points increase, so Tethius misses the timing. It's the same reason why Dark World Dealings would do it. You draw, then discard, so Tethius misses the timing. Versus Hand Destruction, you send, then draw. Now her effect does not miss the timing. It's the exact opposite of Lava Volcano Handmaiden. She says when this card is sent to the graveyard, you send her first with Hand Destruction, then draw, so she misses the timing. Versus Dark World Dealings, you draw, then send, and then her effect can activate. So reload my entire hand. Might as well, because I mean I knew I was going to draw fairies, and that's always good. So I always try to filter out my reloads before my Magical Mallets, just because, you know, that's the type of guy that I am. Now, what I'm really looking for here, okay, so I'm looking for 3 things. I'm looking for Slifer, I'm looking for Hyperion, and I'm looking for Monster Reborn, right? And I've got Monster Reborn and I've got one of the Hyperions. The reason why is because, A, I want a Monster Reborn, my other Hyperion, blast out his back row, summon the other Hyperion, start trying to get rid of monsters here, and then what I can do is just sack all 3 of them for Slifer, and then, you know, shit be banging yo. Anyway, so yeah. Okay, so unfortunately now I only need Slifer still. So I just keep on drawing. So now I've got Slifer, right? So that's good. But I wanted more cards, and Hand Destruction was the only way to do it. So I keep drawing, good. Keep drawing more fairies, good. Keep drawing more fairies, good. You know, essentially following that pattern. Because I'm really trying to pump up Slifer's attack. Also, I wanted to put a few fairies in the grave, because Hyperion does need fairies in the grave in order to activate his effect. So I actually was going to destroy his Mirror Force, and then he chains this. So for the rest of the turn, monsters you control cannot be destroyed by battle, and any battles... Yeah, okay. Well, your monsters aren't going to be destroyed by battle. They're going to be fucking destroyed by, effect. So, destroy one of his others, and actually it turns out that that monster that he summoned, if this card leaves the field... Okay. But its effect is negated, and it is shuffled into the deck when this card leaves the field. So the monster he special summoned got shuffled back into the deck. So now, what do? Just sack all 3 of them for Slifer. 14,000 attack. Well, this guy just fucking quit out. Obviously. I mean, who wants to take a hit from a 14,000 attack monster? No one. Including this guy. So, yeah. So that's how you do it. It wasn't a first turn Slifer. It was a second turn Slifer. But my point is that it's very... This deck is very good. I mean, this was the shitty mode of the deck. And it was that good. Now, just imagine what it's like when this version of the replay, this replay right here, is the version that I showed you. This version was something amazing. This guy was even running Consulars, too. Now, this guy was a little bit of an idiot. He could have pulled off a lot better of a play than he did, but I'll show you eventually. Anyway. So first things first, I don't have much of a good hand. So I think I just set Marshmallow and just sit on it, because what I'm looking for right now is a Tethius, and I can always tribute the Marshmallow for a Tethius, which would be good. Now look at what this guy draws. Okay, that is probably the most amazing hand in the world, because first of all, he can do 2 things. He can Reinforcement of the Army. Well, actually, he does Reinforcement of the Army for Pollux. So what I would have done if I were him, first of all, I wouldn't be running Hawa, because I have a Consular deck, and it's way better than this guy's Consular deck. Let me prove it to you. Yeah, already I can tell you. So what you do is you normal summon Consular Pollux, normal summon Aug, which allows you to special summon, or actually first, because I've got a monster on the field, you special summon Siat. Then you normal summon Pollux, which allows you to normal summon Aug, which allows you to special summon Sombris. Now, you can make Siat at a level 4 by copying their levels. You can go into a first turn Consular Omega and a first turn Consular Praesepi. What does that mean? Praesepi will protect either one of your monsters if your opponent tries to summon something with greater than 3,000 attack. Because it gives either one of your Consulars... Hold on, let's see if he's running that. Yeah, Praesepi has 2,400 attack, and Omega has 2,400 attack. Praesepi gives you 1,000 attack point boost for any of your monsters during either player's damage step. And Consular Omega during either player's turn protects all Consular. It makes all of them unaffected by spells and traps. So no Dark Hole, no creature swap, no mind control, all that stuff. That would have been the smartest thing to do, is go into a first turn Consular Praesepi and Omega. But he didn't. Instead, he does something really stupid and, you know, whatever. I mean, yeah, add a cost to your hand. I mean, what does he freaking do? I guess next turn he wants to go into a Pleiades, but that didn't do any good because now he can't attack, and Ptolemy cannot activate its effect the turn that it is XYZ summoned that way on that turn, like I said. So yeah, anyway, so I've got Tethius, perfect. You know what I'm going to do? Sack Marshmallow to summon Tethius. Waste my normal summon. So, card Destruct, start activating her effect. Okay, perfect. It's a good thing I threw that fucking Honest. So there you go. Her effect starts activating. Eventually, I'll draw into a spell. Reload. Just reload that shit. I don't even need Heavy Storm this time, which is always a good thing. So I kind of got lucky because I drew into a reload, which is good because my Valhalla Hall of the Fallens, notice I don't need them. So eventually I will hand destruct them because I don't want to keep on drawing them if possible. So it's always good to be able to do that. Keep drawing fairies, keep drawing fairies. Good thing I've got magical mallets. Notice my hand size will continuously get bigger and bigger, even though I'm negging 1 each time I play a mallet or a hand destruction or a reload. But it doesn't matter. Oh, also Pot of Avarice. It turns out I didn't need to use it this time. But it's always good to have. It is always good to have. And notice I only sent back monsters. That way my chances of drawing just monsters was increased. Excuse me. So, reload again. Draw a bunch of cards. And, okay, so what I need right now, I've got Slifer, which is good. And I need that Monster Reborn. And since he's only got 1 monster, I don't need all of my Hyperions. I just need 2 of them. So I end up getting a humongous hand, as you can see. So I mallet all of my monsters again and draw a whole bunch of cards. So now what you actually could do at this point, you could hand destruct Slifer and the useless Pot of Avarice, or Valhalla Hall of the Fallen. But I think right now, I mean, I keep drawing cards until I draw a spell, though, of course, because that would be the smart thing to do. So summon Hyperion first off by banishing Venus from the grave. Now I think I hand destruct my 2 Valhalla Hall of the Fallens because they're useless. I don't want to keep drawing them. And I drew another fairy, so her effect keeps going. And let me see. Do I have the Monster Reborn? I need to draw the Monster Reborn. That's what I'm looking for, essentially. So notice I'm going to keep on drawing until I draw that last spell that's in my deck, which I think is... Let me see. Okay, no, I did have a trade-in at the very bottom. But I've got the Monster Reborn now, right? That's all I need. So I can special summon another Hyperion. But first I hand destruct a fairy, because I need fairies in the grave in order to activate Hyperion's effect. And Slifer, because I'm just going to Monster Reborn Slifer. Now here's a couple things that you need to keep in mind. The reason why I'm able to make this deck so successful is because you have to be able to think about these things. He's got a monster, right? So there's a couple of contributing factors to whether or not you can beat this guy. First of all, if you summon Slifer and you attack Ptolemy, you have to be wary of 2 things. A, Is it a light monster? It is a light monster. I run Honest in my Consular deck. So I would kill Slifer if I tried attacking him and he had an Honest in the deck. So in this particular case, I do go ahead and kill him with Hyperion. Now the other thing is, he could possibly have a Battle Fader, and that would screw up this entire combo if he had a Battle Fader. But you know what? Not every deck is perfect. Not every deck will win every duel. So you just have to, you know, take the risk that they might have a Battle Fader in a Consular deck. I mean, they're not going to have a Battle Fader on a Consular deck. That's silly. It's more likely for them to have an Honest in their hand. So if it's a non-light monster, then I would just go ahead and not even use Hyperion's effect. Just clear back row, if anything. Leave that monster on the field and have Slifer attack the monster, because that way they can't activate a Battle Fader or Swift Scarecrow, because you're attacking a monster, not directly. And also, Slifer's attack has to be high enough that you attack and destroy. So, I mean, you attack and they can't activate a Gorz or a Trag. You have to completely wipe them out. And I mean, you'll see what happens. I mean, I hand destruct for my last 2 cards, and then I'm Monster Reborn. I mean, yeah, I destroy right there, and then I'm Monster Reborn for Slifer. Look at Slifer's attack. 19,000? Are you shit? That's enough attack points to wipe out this guy and his buddy next to him. Like, holy shit, if this were a double duel, they would be fucked. So anyway, and I didn't even attack with my other 3. I didn't even have to sack them because I already used my normal summon on Tethius. So anyway, that's my point, and the guy ends up quitting out because, I mean, who wouldn't? Honestly. So, yeah, let me go back to deck edit one last time so that way you can see it. So that's Slifer Agents. This is the best Slifer Agents deck you will ever find and ever use. I guarantee you, you won't find a better one. And if you do, then you're probably higher than I am right now. Okay, anyway, let's get back to the business. So that's all I have for you. How long did that take? Okay, that wasn't as bad. Took a little bit longer than I thought. But I did everything in one, you know, I did the deck profile and I did the replays all in one video. So that's good. Anyway, so that's pretty much all that I have for you. I'll keep working with Slifer Agents. They're lots of fun. And hopefully I'll be able to bring you my Perfect Agents deck eventually. Also, I fixed my Herakti deck for all those people that are like, oh, you can't use Seraphonite's effect twice, no matter what, at any point. I mean, until Konami tells me it's illegal, which I sent them an email about it, and they haven't responded. Until they tell me it's illegal, it's legal. But either way, to try to appease you people who get on to me about that, I actually changed the deck very slightly. 2 cards, that's all I changed. And it still wins. So, anyway, I'll try to bring you that deck next time. Anyway, so thanks for tuning in, thanks for watching, and I'll talk to you all in the future. See ya.